Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Emily if you're new here, and today we're going to do my favorite video to film every month, and that is my TBR selection. This month we're going to be using the TBR jar, like last month, to choose books specifically off of these two shelves, because I am trying to read certain books by the end of the year, and this is what remains of those for the most part. I will get to that in a minute. So I'm going to be picking just off of this, even though I have an entire shelf behind this. That black shelf back there that is full of books that I also haven't read. Those will be for the new year. If you didn't see my last TBR or the reading vlogs I've been doing, I'm trying to read 18 books off of this cart per month till the end of the year to clear this cart. And that includes fall TBR, the 24 books I wanted to finish by the end of 2024 that I set a few months ago, and series that I'm trying to get through. There are a few books missing. Sky Shade, A Monsoon Rising, and The Final Story are all books that I have pre-ordered that are coming out end of November to December, so I will just be reading those in December. And Quicksilver is also on this, but I'm just going to read it on my Kindle, so I have to keep that in my head, but it is also included in the books that I want to finish. So I have to select 18 books today. On another note, these are the 5 books in the Shadowhunters universe that I still need to read to complete this by the end of the year. So since these are all relatively chunky other than the Shadowhunters Codex, I think for the month of November, I'm going to read The Ghosts of the Shadow Market, which is the next book I have to read. And then I'm just going to read books 1 and 2 of the last hours, so Chain of Gold and Chain of Iron. If I get to the 3rd book, even better, but I doubt that's going to happen. So we're just going to focus on those 3, and then I will leave Chain of Thorns and the Shadowhunters Codex for December. So we're just gonna stick those on the bottom because I'm not gonna pick those. So now I'm gonna have to pick 15 books using the jar, and I did refresh it. I put prompts back in just because I have to pick so many books. I wanted a big selection of prompts. So without further ado, without me yapping anymore, let's get into it. Now I do have books in mind that I want to read based on series, and there's a few books left on my fall TBR that I have to read by the end of November, so going to focus on getting those on here primarily. But the first prompt is a book that is less than 300 pages. I'm trying to think of what's on my fall TBR that might be. I don't. Oh, so close. No. Oh my gosh, this is 301 pages if you count the epilogue. I don't think Bride's under 300 pages. So those are all the books on my fall TBR. So I think I'm gonna do myself a favor and pick The Do-Over by Lynn Painter, because I know this is really short and that will allow me to have like an easy book to read. Double checking. Yeah, this is 285 pages. So this will allow me an easy book to get through because I do have some larger books on the TBR for the month already. And there's 2 other books on here that I want to get on the November TBR that are also long. So under 300 pages, The Do-Over by Lynn Painter. This is like a Groundhog's Day situation, but it happens on Valentine's Day with a girl that his boyfriend dumps her, and she just keeps reliving the day over and over, but she's also becoming closer with another guy in the process, so she then has to decide, I guess, if she wants to still try to get together with her boyfriend or focus on this other guy. So we'll see how that plays out. I'm assuming that's how she ends the reoccurringness, but I don't know. We'll go find out. Prompt 2 is a YA novel. Also does not help me. It might. The Boys of Tommen are YA, right? Tommen, whatever. Yes, it is considered YA. Okay. Google has spoken, and this is one of the series books that I want to read this month so that I don't have to read 2 of them in December. And I'm going to be reading Redeeming 6, which is the 2nd book in Joey and Aoife's view. And this is the longest one. So I am happy I picked The Do-Over because this book is like 700 and some pages long. I really loved Saving Six. I think it's my favorite out of the series so far. I think it's just because we had a better connection with Joey and Aoife before, because we met them in Binding and Keeping 13 and we kind of knew a little bit about their relationship. So getting the like firsthand experience from that was like heartbreaking, but I loved it at the same time, and I just felt so much more for those characters. So I'm excited to see where this goes and like what it entails, because I think the first book ended off basically like right at the beginning of Binding 13. So we still have like the timeline of both of those books to get through with them, which is probably why this book is so massive. But very excited for that. Prompt 3. More than 500 pages. And you're not gonna give me 500, are you? Nope. Okay. I don't know. I know one is. I know Magnolia Parks probably is over 500 pages, but I don't know that I want to read that. Okay, this is. This is not. I might not really have much of an option here. It's probably between Rule of Wolves and Magnolia Parks. Yeah, that's like 600 and some pages. But I think I'm gonna go with Rule of Wolves just because I just read King of Scars, so I'd like to get to this while it's still like fresh in my head, and it was a bit of a cliffhanger. And with the fact that I have to read Redeeming Six, which is a very emotionally heavy romance, I don't know that I want to read that and Magnolia Parks in the same month if I can avoid it. They're also both very long, so if I can avoid that one, I'm going to try to for this month and save it for December. But I will be reading Rule of Wolves for a book over 500 pages. I'm getting all of the number prompts. This is the second book and the last book in the King of Scars duology and the last book in the Grishaverse. And it's going to follow Nikolai and Zoya, I believe still, and Nina. She's still in this as well. I can't talk too much about what I think it's going to do just because of how the last book ended and what happened in that book. But there was a very big cliffhanger at the end. So I'm interested to see how that wraps up in this book. It did take me a little bit of time to get into the first one, but once the story started flowing, I was very invested. So now I'm excited that I can go into this relatively quickly after finishing King of Scars. Fourth prompt. I'm trying to be decisive so this video isn't forever long. Book I've been avoiding. I kind of know which book I'm going to pick for this one just because it is the one that I've been avoiding the most. And that is Our Violent Ends by Chloe Gong. I have put this on like a mental TBR many, many times. It has not been actually put on a monthly TBR. And I don't know why I'm putting it off because I really loved These Violent Delights. So I don't know why I'm just so afraid to read this book. I liked that book so much more than I thought I would. And there was a little bit of a cliffhanger on that, and I would love to see how the story wraps up. And this is a pretty highly rated book, I think, on Goodreads. So I don't know why I'm so afraid of it, but I have been putting it off. I've been trying to read it probably for the past 3 months, and I just haven't. And that was a great story, I know. But for some reason, I've been avoiding it, so I would like to read this month. And it feels like a really good book for this time of the year. I mean, I'm going to read it by the end of the year regardless, but I think this is like enough magic and enough fantasy to be a good read right around the November time frame. I'm just saying that, I don't actually really know. So our fifth prompt is people on the cover. This is a good opportunity for me to get one of my books that I need to get on my TBR that are on my fall TBR. So I could either go with Bride or Funny Feelings because I do not think Final Girl. Well, Final Girl kind of has a person on there, but it's not people in plural. So I'm gonna think those two are our option. And I don't think this has people on it, no. I'm gonna have to rearrange in a second because those are just gonna keep falling over. I have to read both of these, so it doesn't really matter. But I think I'm going to pick Bride for this and hope that I don't regret that because a better prompt comes along for it. But This is Allie Hazelwood's first foray into fantasy, and it is an arranged marriage, I believe, between a vampire and a werewolf. Very Twilight vibes. So I have to read both of those, but I'm very excited to read this time of the year just because it is like spooky season. It is colder weather. This is the kind of time of the year that I want to read something like that. So we'll choose that one. Okay. Prompt 6. I thought I got one stuck in my sleeve. A nonfiction. And I only have 2 nonfictions on here, and I think the more appropriate one to pick for this time of the year is The Trial of Lizzie Borden. And I've talked about this a few times in videos, but this is a nonfiction just about the trial and things that happened when she was accused of killing her family, but was never actually found guilty, and everything that happened after that. She did continue to live in that town, and a lot of people questioned why she bought a very expensive house with the money that she inherited from her parents' death. So there's a lot of like questions about if that's the motive or whatever, because she always wanted to live higher than her dad allowed them to because they had the means to, but he just like lived frugally, I believe. So I know quite a bit about Lizzie Borden just because her story's always fascinated me, but I still picked this up because I wanted to give it a go, and I'll try to probably pick it up like right at the end of the month, right at the beginning of November, because Halloween, spooky season, there's a lot of like questions about if she's still haunting the house that it happened in, or if she's still haunting Maplecroft, which was the house that she bought after. I believe it's Maple something, but we'll see. Prompt 7. Fake dating. I think I can pick funny feelings for this one, actually. I think that is fake dating. There's a hair. Yep. I can pick funny feelings, so I'm not regretting that choice to pick Bride. This is about a ex-stand-up comedian and a up-and-coming stand-up comedian. He's a single dad, and he's been trying to help like get her career like launched, I guess is the best way to say it. And she's been like an important part of their family. Like she's important to his daughter, who is deaf, and as well to him. So they have like a very close friendship, but then they start fake dating because I think it's supposed to help her stir up publicity and everything. So, and then we all know what happens after that. But another one off the fall TBR. So now I just have 2 that I need to focus on trying to get on here. I think this is prompt 8. Blue on the cover. So that's not going to help me with either of those 2. There's really only two or 3. That doesn't have blue, that's green, and that's red. That's not really blue either. So the 2 options I have are First Lie Wins and Spells for Forgetting. And I think I'm going to go with First Lie Wins because I've really been running to read this book. It's just been staring at me on this cart. So I think we're going to go with this one. All I know is that it's maybe like a con artist. This may be someone in like the witness protection. I don't know, but it says like Evie Porter has everything a nice Southern girl could want: a doting boyfriend, a house with a white picket fence, and a tight group of friends. The only catch, Evie Porter doesn't exist. So I've heard good things about this. A lot of people have said they really liked it and that it was like a good twisty book. So I'm going to pick, and I think this is her debut novel as well. So I'm going to pick First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston. Next prompt is, I'm going to have to count in a minute. A debut novel. Of course it is. I don't know that I have another debut novel on here. None of these are. None of these are. I think this was her debut novel. I think this was her first novel. Jane and Edward, I believe, was Melody Edwards' first. Let me check. I read her other book, but I think this was the first one that she... Yes, okay, so this is her debut novel. This is a Jane Eyre reimagining, and I really enjoyed the other one that was a Persuasion retelling, and I cannot remember what it was called, but I did really like it, and I think she has another book coming out soon. But this was very like an emotional read, a very like deep romance. It wasn't like a light fluffy one, but still really good. So, or the other book was. So I'm looking forward to reading her other book, and then I'll be caught up on her backlist because she is a relatively new author. I've never really read Jane Eyre, so I don't really know what the story is, but I think this is something about like a girl who works at this like firm in Toronto, and everyone thinks she's destined for failure because she has a notoriously difficult boss, but I think it's going to be like a workplace romance. That's all I know, but we'll see. Okay, so that was 12 books, so this is the 13th book counting the 3 Shadowhunters novels. Longest book on TBR. Not cool, because now that's going to make me read Magnolia Parks, I think. Yeah, I think that's going to make me read Magnolia Parks. Alright, I'm destined to read this one, I guess, this month. Magnolia Parks Into the Dark, the final book in Magnolia and BJ's point of view. This will catch me up on this series, and I know there's going to be other Daisy Hayes books. I don't know when they're coming out, but I think she said there's going to be 2 more. So I feel like this is going to be a very emotional read. So we'll just have to... Gonna have a sad November, it seems like, between this and Redeeming Six and I guess just those ones. Have some lighthearted reads in here too, so it shouldn't be too bad. I really did not want to read Redeeming Six and Magnolia Parks in the same month, but here we are. Oldest book on TBR. I don't know. I do keep a running list of the books as I buy them. I don't know that it's in the exact right order, but okay, it's telling me that this is the oldest one on here. This is The Ravens by Cass Morgan and Danielle Page, and this is about like witches in a sorority, and there's like murder and mystery and all that kind of stuff. Don't know too much about it other than that's the basic premise, and I think there's actually a second book in this series because I just saw it. It was on sale for Prime Day. I didn't buy it. I should have because it was like $3, but we'll see if I like this, and if I like this enough to continue it, I will continue it. If not, I will treat it as a standalone. But oldest book on the TBR. That is actually one of my oldest books, even though I have other books over there. There's only 2 books older than it, so. And I think I bought them at the same time. So 4 more still to pick. And there's 3 books I really want to pick. Odds aren't looking real good right now. Author I've never read before. There's only one on here that I've never read before. And that is Adrienne Young and Spells for Forgetting. This is just like, I think, a witchy mystery. It's an atmospheric story about ancestral magic and unsolved murder and a second chance at true love. So this is not her debut novel, but I think it's one of her first novels, maybe. She has the Unmaking of June Farrow out right now that like everybody seems to be talking about. But I got this off Book Outlet, so I figured I would try it, see if I liked her writing style, and maybe I'll read some other of her books. But for now, this is what I have. And it's still a good time to read this because it's witchy, and I'll read it in November. But 3 more. 3 more. A Black Spine. Okay, I can make this one work. The only one I have that has a little bit of a black spine is this one or this one, which are the 2 I need to add. They both have probably equal amounts of black because there's like black and green mixed here and then obviously black and red. But I think I'm going to go with You Shouldn't Have Come Here because it's nice and short. And I need to read it anyway next month. So we're going to go with Geneva Rose's You Shouldn't Have Come Here, which I think is not rated really highly on Goodreads, and I did read her one book, The Perfect Marriage, I believe was her, and I liked that. It wasn't great, but this just looked really interesting. It's about a woman that goes to this town and books an Airbnb in the middle of nowhere and meets this guy that owns it. They kind of, I think, start to develop maybe like a little bit of a bond, and then there's a missing woman, so she starts thinking that things like aren't as what they seem, and they both, like Calvin and Grace, both think that the other is hiding something from them, so we shall see. 2 left. Male author. Yes. I can put Riley Sager on here, so I picked the right one. Because he's the only one on here, I think. This is it. This is what I have to pick anyway. So, Riley Sager's Final Girls. This is about a group of girls, I think specifically one girl who became a final girl, which means she went somewhere, everybody was slaughtered except her, and she joins this like support group with these other girls, and then one of them ends up dying, and another one comes to her and is like, we need to figure out what's going on, but it ends up like dredging up things from her past that she'd rather not dredge up. So looking forward to this one. I still have a few more of his books to read to catch up on his backlog, but I do enjoy Riley's books. It's just, I found out that's not his name either. I forget what it is, but that's a pen name. I didn't know that, and I was looking up like where he was from because of some of the stuff that he like writes into his books, and he is from Pennsylvania, but that's not his real name. I'll have to look it up and talk about it in another book, in another vlog or whatever. Maybe when I like do the vlog for that, I'll talk about it. A Kindle Unlimited read. Okay, well, I know what I'm picking for that one. Actually, to get the final book on my TBR, I think that I want to read. I think this is on Kindle Unlimited. Please hold. It is. Okay. So I could have gone with Quicksilver because it is on Kindle Unlimited, but so is this, and I really want to read this one next month so that I only have to read Twisted Lies in December, and I don't have to read both of them at the same time. So Twisted Hate, this follows Josh and what's her name? Jules, which is the girl from our first book, Ava, I think her name was, from Twisted Love. It's her best friend and her brother. So best friend's brother, little sister's best friend, however you want to play that. And I think they try to do like a no strings attached kind of situation because they hate each other, like absolutely hate each other. But we all know that like love and hate are such a closely drawn line. So I did like, what was the other one I just read? Games? Twisted Games, I think it was. And that was pretty good too. It was very like, it was a very spicy book, even more so than Twisted Love, which I liked Twisted Love. Twisted Games was a little bit spicier than I was expecting it to be, but we'll see how this one goes. Clearly this one's going to be spicy too if the whole situation between them is a friends with benefits or like an enemies with benefits, I guess, situation. So we'll see how that works out. Okay, so that's 18 books. Let me rearrange and then we'll go through them all one more time. That was some quick rearranging because I picked most of the books off the top, but we'll start with the hardbacks just because I like to put them this way. For a nonfiction read, I went with The Trial of Lizzie Borden by Kara Robertson. For a book with blue on the cover, I chose First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston. For the oldest book on my TBR, I chose The Ravens by Cass Morgan and Danielle Page. I guess I didn't really choose it. It chose itself, but it's on the TBR. For a Kindle Unlimited read, I chose Twisted Hate. Yes, I own it physically, but it is also on Kindle Unlimited, so I am bending the rules because I need to read it this month. For a YA novel, I chose Redeeming Six by Chloe Walsh. For a book with people on the cover, I chose Bride by Ellie Hazelwood. For a book I've been avoiding, I chose Our Violent Ends by Chloe Gong. For a book with more than 500 pages, I chose The Rule of Wolves by Leigh Bardugo. For the longest book on my TBR, Magnolia Park's Into the Dark, again, did not choose. That was just the longest book. For a black spine, I chose You Shouldn't Have Come Here by Geneva Rose. Male author, Final Girls by Riley Sager. Less than 300 pages, The Do-Over by Lynn Painter. Debut novel, Jane and Edward by Melody Edwards. Fake Dating, Funny Feelings by Tara DeWitt. And an author I've never read before, Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young. And then we can't forget the three chonkers. Ghost of the Shadow Market, Chain of Gold, and Chain of Iron, Cassandra Clare books, all in the Shadowhunters universe. So that's my TBR for November. I got the books I wanted on there, which makes me very happy, but still gonna be a very hefty reading month. We will see how it plays out. Let me know which of these books you're most excited for me to read. They will all be in a vlog, so you don't need to tell me which one you want to see in a vlog. I'm vlogging this entire experience, so you will see them all. And let me know what you have on your TBR for November and what book you're most excited to read. And I thank you so much for watching if you've made it this far, and I hope to see you in the next video.